I'm glad that we actually timed this podcast perfectly because there's a lot to talk about. I want to start off by going over the inventory right now, right? There's a little bit more homes than we had before. So right now, as far as single family homes, we have a little bit over 4,000 available right now, right? About 4 months ago, we only had 2,600 single family homes. I don't really track condos that much because it fluctuates a lot. So we go by single family numbers. And I got some information to share with you guys to compare the market from May back in 2021 and 2020. So let's start off with homes for sale. Homes for sale back in May, there was 12,000 properties on the market.
Okay.
In May of 2021, there was 8,000 homes on the market. So it went down 31%. The next stat that I have to share is days on market. May of 2020, it took 26 days to sell a house on average.
That's quick.
May of 2021, it took 14 days.
Woo, that's fast.
And then this is crazy right here. May of 2022, it was only taking 8 days to sell a property.
That's insane. 8 days.
So what does that tell you? You know, if somebody puts a house on the market and it gets sold in 8 days.
It's a complete seller's market.
Yeah.
There's just not enough inventory out there, and whatever went up, sold.
Yeah. If you listed a property, let's say 6 months ago, it probably took you 8 days just to review the offers that you received, because people were receiving 25 to 30 offers around that time. So 8 days to me tells me that's just how long it took to go over the offers that they got. And
you probably can't even get a photographer in there that fast, probably sometimes.
Yeah, so the market was blazing hot 6 months ago and it's cooling off. So good thing that you tuned in because we're going to dissect what's going on right now. The next stat that I have to share is the month supply. So why does the month supply matter? Just so you know, in order for us to have a level market, we need at least 6 months supply to consider the market being level. Not a seller's market and not a buyer's market. It's level. So we need 6 months of that. May of 2020, we had 3.4 months of inventory available. In 2021, we had 2.3 months. So that went down 32% in 1 year of available inventory. And now, May of 2022, it went down to 1.4 months of inventory.
Wow.
That went down even more.
That's insane. It's crazy. Crazy numbers.
Right? So to me, that meant that the interest rates at the time caused people to jump in the market and just start buying homes left and right. And the buyers are the ones that increase the prices over time.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing for a lot of buyers out there. If you guys are on the fence about buying and waiting for this crash to happen, you have to look at the entire market of what could take place, because rates today, they're over 6%. And let's just say things were to go back to the 3.5% range. To me, in my opinion, that doesn't make the market more favorable to a first-time home buyer, because you're only going to get more buyers back into the marketplace, which is going to squeeze you out again, because we've seen that over the last 2 years with the amount of inventory that's on the market. And we know what's going to happen when and if interest rates go back down, which there's talks that will happen eventually. We just don't know how fast that will be, whether that will be in the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever that ends up being. But to me, that's only going to cause another frenzy again, which we kind of don't want, because we know what that did over the last 2 years.
It's tough. Yeah. So touching on Rudy's question earlier, what do we think is going to happen as far as buyers go? Are they going to be in a better position or a worse position moving forward with these inflation and high interest rates? I mean, what's your opinion, Sean?
I think right now there's a window for buyers to take advantage of the market. And I've seen a lot of contracts come through lately within my branch where we've seen sellers giving closing costs to our buyers again, which for the last couple of years is almost unheard of, to even get a seller to even consider giving any sort of credits So I think that's a huge win for a lot of our clients, because if you're looking at our median price of almost $500,000, your closing costs can run you at least $10,000. And for most buyers, they don't have an extra, 10, 20, 30,000 laying around. So if you can get the seller to cover that for you, that's a huge win. And I think with interest rates the way they are today, yes, it's a lot higher than what we got accustomed to over the last couple of years, but we got spoiled. We all got spoiled at 2.5%, 3%. And now that they're 6%, yes, that is a little bit of a sticker shock. But if you actually go back and you look at the history of rates, there were times in the 80s where rates were 15, 18%, and people still bought houses. So I think there is still an opportunity to be able to pick up a property that still can turn out to be successful in the future.
Yeah, let me touch on that, because I did some research based on those numbers about in the 80s being at 12%, because people were saying, well, the houses were selling at 80,000, 90,000, right? Okay, but the minimum wage was $1 or $2, so it kind of balanced out as far as the purchase price went and the amount of income people were making per year.
Yep.
It still averages out to the numbers that we have today.
Yeah.
Our income is way higher, so prices are way higher as well.
Exactly.
So the 12% still, it's still relevant, right, in today's numbers. So I don't want you guys to get that confused just because prices were at 80,000 back in the 80s, that the 12% interest rate was at that rate because of the prices. The income was lower, everything was lower, so it was still a challenge for some people to buy a home in the 80s.
Yeah, and I think you have to always remember that real estate is a long-term play, because even when you go back to the crash, 2011 or so was kind of the bottom of the market here in Vegas. There were still buyers out there that would not buy because they thought that the market was going to continue to go down. They still felt interest rates weren't the greatest at that time. So I think if you're on the fence, you really have to kind of take a step back. Don't get your emotions tied into the transaction and just really look at the facts, because I can tell you in 2010 and 11, I was working with a number of investors, and they would literally say, Sean, this is like Monopoly right now. I'll keep buying houses as long as you can keep financing them for me. And that's what they did. Guys would come in and buy 10 properties, and look at what the homes are worth today. They've probably more than tripled, in 10 years or so. Yeah. So I think there can always be a reason as to why maybe you don't go and buy. However, you got to look at it, what's in it for you. Does the purchase make sense for you? Not what your aunt or your mom or your dad or your friend says. You have to look at your own finances.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually talking to one of my investment partners yesterday, and he's holding about 15 properties right now that he's going to renovate and sell within the next year. And he is going to be adjusting to what's happening and start offering a credit to buy down the interest rate to put him back up to the purchase price they were in maybe a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because a few months ago, people that were qualified for 400,000 now are going to be at 350 or maybe even less now. So he's going to give them the buying power back.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategies that you can look at as far as a seller buy down to be able to cover that for you. So we actually have some analysis that we can put together the next time we go live, which I will do that. And that way you guys can get a good idea of how the seller can actually help you get more buying power, and why not using the closing costs to cover your closing costs is a good idea, or even asking for price reductions. So we'll go over all that stuff next time, which I've got a cool analysis that we were using back in, I think, like 2017, 2018. Not a lot of realtors will look at it this way, and not a lot of buyers will look at it this way. So I think if you guys make sure you tune in again, we're going to be giving you guys some really good practical information that will help you negotiate with your deals going forward.
Definitely. Hey, Sean, let me ask you, I want to pick your brain because you've been in the business for a long time, 15 years. When you started, what year was it?
2007.
2007. So you've been through a shifting market exactly like this one. How did you see the market turning once you saw a lot of more properties on the market?
During the crash, it was really tough because people could not qualify. So people were losing their homes to foreclosure. People were losing their homes to bankruptcies. People were getting divorced. There was a lot of other exterior issues that you had to deal with to try to get someone qualified for a house. FHA was almost non-existent back then.
Really?
No one ever did an FHA loan because you were using all these subprime loans where you could put no money down and get 100% financing. So no one would really look at FHA. So once things really started to crash, FHA kind of became a lot more popular again. And that's when rates were still in the 6-7% range. But obviously with 3.5% down, or I think back then it was even less than that. I think it was like 3% down. But people were buying homes at that point. But now I think today it's tough because you can find someone to qualify, but they just can't qualify for enough house. So you have to be a little more creative with, your guidelines as far as a loan officer goes. You have to really know how to calculate income. You have to know your guidelines, because if you don't, you could easily make a mistake and your client could not qualify for the mortgage, which, it's unfortunate, but things like that happen almost every day.
Right. So do you think with less people qualifying, there's going to be a lot more inventory rising and rising?
I think the challenge that we have is, if you do sell, where are you going to go? And I think you see that as well, because yes, you can sell someone's home for top dollar, they can cash out, they can make a ton of money, but if you decide to buy, where are you going to go? Right. Or if you decide to rent, maybe for the next 6 months to a year, there's not a lot of rental properties either. So it's almost a catch-22 where you got this equity, you want to take advantage of the market, but how do you do it? There's a few ways that we have the ability to do so, but I think that's the biggest challenge for people right now. It's how do you still find something that's going to make sense without getting going overboard with the new payment?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So that just ties into my point. Right now we have to be more aggressive as a realtor representing our buyers and sellers and try to get them the best deal possible. We got to put some of these sellers into reality and let them know where the market is heading, because if they're sticking to their guns and want to sell the property at top dollar, it's going to be sitting for a long time. We have to pivot right now. So that's where I'm at. I am trying to be ahead of the market so I can guide my clients the best way possible and get them the best deal possible right now. With the amount of properties going up, it doesn't really worry me. In 2008 and 9, the properties were dropping drastically, down 40%, was because we had 28,000 properties
too many homes on the
available.
Market. Too many.
So it's like you're begging somebody to go in there and look at your house. In those days. So we're not even close to having that many properties. We have 4,000 on the market right now, single family homes. So the demand is still high and the supply is still low.
Yep. And I think we have a ways to go before we get to the place of having, kind of a surplus of inventory. That's not going to happen overnight. I think, if that does take place, there's going to be a runway, and we're going to be able to recognize those patterns a lot faster. But I think even as a buyer, that's still, to me, that shouldn't deter you from buying. I bought my first house when the market was crashing. I lost about 40% of the value within the first couple of years when I bought my place.
Really?
But the payment worked.
Yeah.
The payment is what worked for me at the end of the day. So I didn't care what happened to the value. I needed a place to live. My mortgage payment was like $1,000.
Yeah.
And I still have that house to this day. And, I could probably rent the house out close to $3,000 right now.
So what I got from this is, if your goal is to buy and become a homeowner, you are going to buy. But if your goal is to find a good deal, you're never going to buy anything.
Yeah, I think there's too many things that you can talk yourself out of not doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, if you're maybe a first-time investor, working with a guy like you, Carlos, that owns rental property, because I think you look at the process a little differently. If you don't own rental home property, I don't think you really know how to analyze a deal. And I think you can talk yourself out of it versus seeing the opportunity ahead. Because again, let's go back to 2011. The media was still talking about the fact that Las Vegas was the foreclosure capital of the world, right? One in so many homes were going into foreclosure. There was so much negativity about our market, and all the projects right on the strip that weren't being developed, that all these towers like Fontainebleau, right, that sat vacant, and all these hotels that were supposed to go up that never got built. So within all that negativity, people were still buying homes for pennies on the dollar. So you have to be able to look past all of that nonsense that is out there in the media, and that's a whole nother subject in and of itself. But if you can see past that, there's opportunity, right? I mean, we were literally financing houses for under $100,000.
Wow.
I think
amazing.
The lowest deal I did was a condo we financed, and I think the loan was like $34,000.
Amazing. And some people still didn't see the opportunity because they were blinded by the news, by their parents, their family.
Imagine buying a single family home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet for like $95,000.
I did that.
Right? But people are like, no, it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down more.
Yeah. Wait.
What does it matter,
bro? It's like you're renting anyways. You're losing so much money. Like, what, So it's just like, I don't know. So for all the people that didn't end up buying that I was talking to, right now, you're probably in a worse position if you thought last year wasn't the right time. So I don't know how long you're gonna end up waiting for you to feel like it is the right time to buy, because things change. We didn't know we were going to be in this position.
Exactly.
Right. So let me ask you this: if, let's say, COVID never happened and the interest rates just kept climbing at a normal pace, where do you think interest rates would be at today?
I would think instead of 6, maybe 4.5 or so.
4.5, maybe 5-ish. Yeah.
But we're at 6.25 today. I honestly think things are probably going to get worse before they get better.
Right.
So maybe by the fourth quarter, maybe things can get back down to the 5 range. But there's a lot of kind of wait and see right now. I mean, a lot of lenders are making predictions. Everyone has an opinion as to where they think it's going to go. But, we're hoping maybe by the fourth quarter things get a little better. But again, I wouldn't wait to make that decision if I was looking to buy. I would still look today, because again, if I can get my closing costs paid, I can get into the home. Maybe the house doesn't appreciate at 20%. Maybe it goes back to a more normalized, call it 5%. I'm okay with that, because now I've stabilized my living expense. Because I've heard a lot of clients too say that, hey, my rent went up $500. My rent went up $1,000 a month. And in fact, I was just talking to a guy at my gym this morning, and if you look at gas prices, so I fill up my car once a week, and I'm probably spending an extra $200 a month, $250 a month. And you figure how much food and groceries cost. That's probably another, $300 a month? And then if your rent goes up $500 a month, there's another $1,000 a month that you never budgeted for. And most people never budget. So,
right.
And I know that because after 15 years of looking at bank statements, I can tell you most people do not have a budget. They do not have a rainy day account. So what do you do when you now, forking out another $1,000 a month just to live?
Yeah, it's tough.
It's crazy to me, right? Yeah. So if you can at least get into your house and now you own the property and you're not subject to your landlord saying, hey, it's going to be, instead of $2,000 a month, it's going to be $2,800 next month. If you don't like it, you can leave.
Yeah.
Now where do you go?
Yeah, they're not running DTI or nothing on you.
No.
They're just raising it.
That's it.
So I think the rent's going to keep going up since it's getting more expensive to buy. People are going to be forced to rent even more. And it's just tough, because how are you going to tell somebody to stop renting if they're paying $1,600, right?
Yeah.
If your rent is $1,600 or $1,800 and you don't want to buy, don't buy. You can stay there, because having a mortgage right now is going to be a little bit more expensive. But in the long run, it's gonna be worth it.
Rudy asked DTI. So DTI, Rudy, is your debt to income ratio. So what we look at as a lender is we'll look at your income divided by all of your debt every month. That gives us your ratio that we have to use to qualify you for the mortgage.
Yeah. In my opinion, what I think is going to start happening right now is sellers are going to start helping out the buyers with credits, with closing costs and things like that. And that's going to bring more confidence to the buyers to start buying and jumping back into the market. Then eventually the demand is going to be back up to where it was 6 months ago. So
there was a question. Can ARM loans be the answer? That is a good question. Not just yet. The spread on ARMs and fixed rate mortgages, they're not that big of a difference yet, but it is something that every lender is looking at, because the 5-year, the 7-year, the 10-year adjustable ARM may be a good choice, just so that way you can maybe get a little more buying power, get you a little low interest rate for the time being. So it is something, honestly, we're all looking at, but that's definitely a good question.
So right now we have a window, like you've been mentioning. There's a window right now that's opening up. We're gonna have more power to negotiate on behalf of our buyers to get into homes. And as a seller, you're also gonna have that option, because if you're selling to buy, we're gonna be able to sell your property at top dollar and still be able to negotiate on the new house to give you the buying power that you need, you know? So buying down the interest rate would probably be the best, instead of putting a huge down payment and cashing out all the equity from that property.
Yep, exactly. And I think, you know, as you shop around, if you're looking for a lender for financing, and I always talk about this on my channel, where, you know, strategy is very important. Interest rates are important too, yes, and I get that, and I know that's usually how most people decide on their lender. But I think in this market, you really have to look for someone who understands how to best structure your loan, because there are ways to get you more buying power back. Yeah. There are ways that you can maybe push certain products a little higher as far as the income goes, if you know how to calculate income really well. So it's really being well versed, I think, so that way you can make the most of whatever the client qualifies for. But I think to your point, you know, if you're renting and your rent is really cheap, I think you have to start budgeting. I think you really have to make a conscious effort to put some money to the side, because if things were to turn and your lease expires, your landlord increases the rent, I think you want to be able to put yourself in a position to have that conversation and say, can I purchase? Yeah. And at least know, worst case, hey, you know what, this is where I stand. Maybe I still need to work on my credit. Maybe I need another $5,000 and then I can buy, versus not doing nothing and then just kind of hoping and praying your landlord doesn't increase the rent, right? And then you wake up one day and you're like, you know, you're kind of stuck.
Right. So that's a good point. If you are paying a low rent right now, it's almost guaranteed it's not going to last. So hopefully you have a game plan. Hopefully you reach out to somebody that can run your numbers, like you said, see where you stand, see your purchase price. And if you don't like that purchase price, the lender can actually go through their numbers and help you get to the purchase price that you want. You know, sometimes just paying off a credit card, or, you know, whatever it is. You know, this is Sean's field, so I'm not going to speak for him. Make sure you ask him all the loan questions, and then after you get your pre-approval, then it's me. I help you view homes, negotiate purchase price, and everything else that has to do with real estate, because I do get a lot of lending questions.
And same thing, we get asked real estate questions, but we always send them back to you, because I'm not looking at property every day. You know, you are, you know the inventory, you know kind of what's going on more than we would. So obviously we defer to you with that type of info as well.
Yeah. So I want to make like a quick announcement right now before I forget, because I actually posted a YouTube video. I think the title was, I don't want to overpay for a house. And I was telling people that whenever you are sending an offer and they want you to put down like $20,000 above appraisal, that it was okay, because the market was appreciating so fast that you'll make your money back within 6 months or less, you know. But recently the market has changed, so I've been getting a lot of negative comments on it. So I'm gonna do this for you guys, because the uncertainty is very high on buying a house. So have you seen those TikToks where people buy something so you don't have to? No? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy a house so you don't have to, and I'll share the numbers with everyone. Let you know how much the payment's gonna be, how much I put down, the purchase price, and it's gonna be straight from the MLS. So this is not gonna be like an investor deal or anything. And then we're gonna put the market to the test. I'm either gonna come out on top or I'm gonna lose money, but I'm gonna do it so you don't have to.
Ooh, I like that.
You know?
I like that.
So instead of
putting his money where his mouth is.
Exactly. So I don't like telling people and then them not believing me. So let me just show you. I'll just show you. And then we can talk after that, you know?
I like
so we're going to have Sean Yu run all my numbers, and we're going to have episodes and different episodes throughout the transaction. So make sure that you follow the journey. It's going to be labeled I bought it so you don't have to. House
Rudy
edition.
likes that. Rudy likes that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, why not? You know, why not? If I have enough confidence to tell my clients to buy a house,
Why not do it yourself?
Why not do it myself?
And to be honest, I love that idea. Even during COVID, you know, when COVID hit, a lot of people were on the fence about buying because they felt that, you know, obviously we all knew we didn't know where it was going to go. But no one had an idea that it was going to be one of probably the best markets we've ever seen. But I bought 4 rentals that year.
Yeah.
And even when I told my mom I was buying a house for my parents, they were kind of looking at me like, you're crazy. Like, why are you doing that? But I was like, hey, if I'm trying to promote home ownership and tell our clients the same thing, like, hey, I'm doing what I'm telling you to do. Exactly. So I love that idea. And to be honest, I've been looking at some rentals myself the last few weeks too. So I think if we end up pulling the trigger on something, yeah, I think we should definitely share that with the audience, because, you know, we're not telling you guys to do things that we're not doing ourselves.
Exactly. If you are a homeowner looking to sell and buy, right now is the biggest opportunity for you to jump in and get a deal. I remember Sean had a few closings recently where the buyer bought a home with equity already in the property.
Yeah, we've been seeing a handful of those lately. We had one the other day. I think the buyer, the purchase price was about $470, and I believe the appraisal came back at $530.
Wow.
So $60,000 of instant equity in the property.
Amazing. So there you go. Right now is the perfect window for you to jump in and buy. There's a lot of uncertainty, so I'm sure the sellers are also going to be feeling it. So that's when we can negotiate the best. But you do have to be partnered up with an aggressive agent that knows how to negotiate, because I know there's a lot of new agents out there that think they know how to maneuver in this market, but they might not be the best fit for this type of market that we're in.
Yep, absolutely.
I appreciate everybody that logged into the live. We're gonna keep these going.
This is fun, man.
Yeah.
I like the live thing.
Yeah,
That's
it is
good.
cool, huh?
We
It's
gotta
different.
do that again.
I love it. So if you guys have any questions, you can just DM me, and when I meet with Sean next, I'll make sure to answer everyone's questions.
And make sure to stay tuned to the next one, because I'm going to put together that analysis so we can show some other strategies to help you negotiate on your next deal.
Exactly. And on the next one also, I should have a property already under contract or already bought, so I can share some pictures. I'm going to show you the address at the end so you guys can run your numbers and verify everything. So stay tuned for the next one, and thank you for watching.
See you guys.